Men are not also allowed to say out loud that their life has been destroyed by the simple fact that your wife, your husband, your partner has died. And that's just no.
My name is Tosin Tariba. 3 years ago, I lost my mum and my dad in the space of 3 months. Now that both of my parents have gone, I've had to take up the mother role. And what I've found is that the best way to get people to talk about their grief is sat around a table with some good food. This series will look to unpack the taboos around grief and the different challenges we experience. Although the pain is the same, the challenges we face are different. Just to give you some context, 1.5 years ago, I married the love of my life. And though death is something that has impacted both of our families, it's still a conversation that I'm afraid to have with him.
David and I met in 2011. David was a casual meet that turned into one of the loves of my life. So we met and he never left. In the evening, I went to bed while David was still having a drink with our friends, and then when I woke up later on that night, I heard a weird noise and I made my way to the stairs. I turned on the light and I saw David laying at the bottom of the stairs with blood on the floor. I started screaming and asking for help, and then my friends woke up. And on the way there, I was told that I should probably prepare that David will not survive. So when the words actually came out, that I take you as my husband, I just felt overwhelmed. Of course, then David died in our honeymoon a few months later, and I didn't realize the significance of being married and what it truly had meant until that moment when my status, my rights as his husband were denied.
Marco was denied his right as next of kin when David died, and that's because in South Australia, gay marriage was not recognised. The story went viral, and since then, South Australia has changed the laws and now recognise same-sex marriages.
I always call it May Day because it happened on the May bank holiday. We left the house as a family of 3, and then suddenly Catherine started saying, "Oh, I feel quite dizzy. We'll find somewhere I can sit down and maybe get a glass of water." And she sat down in like a booth, and I went to go and get her a glass of water. And by the time I'd come back, she was just like slumped in the chair. Her heart had stopped. At first, I thought it was just some sort of joke, like she was pretending to be asleep or something. So I started shaking her. Head starts wobbling, and that's bang. Margot's now 3.5, she'll be 4 in August. One of the reasons I wanted to start showing emotions to her, because I wanted her to be the person I want her to be when she grows up. I think it's really important. So for me to show emotions to her, you know, and she says, you know, "Why are you crying, Daddy?" And I can tell her why, and she's going to grow up having that understanding and trust with me that I've told her the truth and I've showed her how to express emotion, because I don't want her to have this prolonged grief and not know what to do with it.
How do you think men are expected to deal with grief? Are men expected to talk about these kind of things?
It's very personal to my experience. Someone has to lead and open that conversation. It goes back to that saying that people, you know, you need to be a man, you need to be strong and all this sort of stuff. Yeah. And that goes back to how you're moulded as a young child, you know.
Mark, your daughter, she was a baby when this happened.
Yeah.
So, and you now have a son. Would you talk about death with your children?
Some people say, you know, your wife's gone to a better place and things like that. And these are things I've told people not to say to my daughter, because I don't want her thinking, you know, in a 5-year-old's mind, like, why is that better place being with me? And how can I get there? And all these sort of feelings. So I always wanted to say, like, things like she's gone somewhere where she didn't have a choice. She had to go. She will never leave you. And think, you know, trying to break it down so there was no thought in her, why she left me and what have I done or anything like that. So yeah, I was just going to build up and tell her the truth. Just, you know, I don't know whether she'll respect me for that, which is older. I don't know.
I think she will.
When Catherine died, I didn't just have my own grief, I had my daughter's grief that I'm thinking, she's not even experiencing this yet. I'm actually planning this and trying to deal with it in my head.
So both of you now have partners again. You've remarried, both of you, or?
About to.
Okay. Oh, amazing. So how did you go about that? Like, meeting the new partners? And
You can I'll take it. I'll take it. Well, mine was casual. It was about 9 months after. I didn't think it would happen because I honestly thought at that point that I already hit my jackpot when I met David. That was done. I also felt quite self-sufficient after David died because I had experienced that incredible love. And so I felt like, well, if I don't ever experience again, it's okay.
It was a bit like when I met Catherine. I wasn't prepared for it. I didn't plan it. It just happened. And I met Nicola, who's my wife now. I didn't force anything. I didn't have any second doubts. I mean, all along I was thinking of Catherine and that, but I knew I was doing the right thing. It was what I wanted to do. And on the flip side of that, there was a lot of issues with people who weren't comfortable with me moving forward and would speak their truth, which, you know, I'm glad they did. But, you know, at the end of the day, they were going back to their lives with their partners and carrying on, where I was going home in isolation, you know, with this grief. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to be really, really selfish and take you out of my life.
Marco and Mark, thank you so much for sharing and being so open. I do have another question, but I would like to do that around the surprise I have for you guys. So if you'd just like to follow me, that would be fantastic. So, I've been married almost 2 years now. I have not spoken about death at all. Well, we've spoken about the fact that we've lost people, but it's becoming more and more important to me to discuss what I would like to happen if I was to pass away and what he would like to happen if he was to pass away.
Sometimes you just got to say it how it is. It's black and white, it being logical, even down to, you know, the non-spiritual things where you're talking about having a will and life insurance and, you know, whatever happens between you and him, whichever way it went, that there's things in place to make life a lot easier because, you know, the trail of destruction that you have when someone has gone and you haven't got those in place, you're running around trying to, you know, figure out legal issues and, you know, all sorts of stuff that you just don't need at that moment in time.
And the last thing I'm going to say, sorry.
No, obviously.
Grief doesn't end. So if you do anything, planning or anything like that, maybe talk about something you can do once a year together. Just you and him, whether it's you saying a word, a specific word, it doesn't have to be anything massive. It can be you saying a word that only you two know that brings you together. But it's him telling you, this is what you do every year to remember me.